Ladies and gentlemen, great pleasure to be here and to take you a little bit out of the world of sustainability and sports and adventure into another dimension of adventure, the artistic adventure. I'm going to tell you the story of the Lucerne Festival, and by emphasizing story, I mean the story, and also to show you why it came to fruition, how it all started. And it may sound a little bit romantic from time to time, but maybe romanticism is also something that we should take very seriously when we project the regions, the mountains, each mountains we actually work for. And I myself, I used to be an artist, now I'm an artistic director and also executive director. I studied both arts and management, and for me, it's always important to see a mountain when I develop ideas. I don't know why it's like that. Maybe it's because my parents come from Switzerland and they were close to the mountains, probably a genetic code within me. But whenever I need to develop something, I need to go and see a mountain, wherever it may be. And just coming here to Berchtesgaden, where I've never been, it was just great getting up this morning, going outside and looking at those mountains and just trying to grasp where their logics are and how they would inspire me, perhaps even for today's lecture. Now I'm not a really technological genius, but I'm trying to work through here and show you childhood. That was our guiding theme throughout the 2018 Summer Festival. We explored many aspects of this theme. We heard many children and young people from all over the world making music right in the heart of Switzerland. And we also got to meet some very special child prodigies.
Children always think that things are possible, so they never think that something is impossible. For instance, when I was 8, I listened to Mozart's Great Mass. And after I finished listening to it, I said, "Ooh, that's wonderful, I think I'll write one too."
Ich glaube, dass was meiste Erwachsene vergessen, ist jetzt leben. Viele Leute leben in Zukunft oder Vergangenheit und das ist auch nicht so gut. Und man muss immer positiv bleiben. Das ist, was viele Erwachsene vergessen.
But familiar stars also helped illuminate the festival theme.
In jedem von uns gibt es etwas Kindliches eben. Und genau in der Musik findet man immer etwas Kindliches eigentlich hinein.
Ich kenne niemanden in den Künsten, schon gar nicht in der Musik, der nicht Wunderkind wäre.
Childhood is a blank paper, actually. For me, it's where everything starts.
As a child, you're open to all kinds of events, smells, taste, looks, hearing.
The festival always has these beautifully broad themes, which can apply to many things. That's been a wonderful hook to hang everything on.
The theme of childhood was of course also a guiding idea for the symphony concerts, played by the world's finest orchestras, such as the Lucerne Festival Orchestra. Concertgebouworchestra. The London Symphony Orchestra. The Orchestra of the Lucerne Festival Academy. The Boston Symphony Orchestra. The Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra, and many others. Unforgettable moments linger on. Unforgettable moments not only for the talented young musicians, but also for our audience of young people and the young at heart. So, that was a little movie to bring you into the dimensions of the Lucerne Festival, nestled in one of the most beautiful spots in the world, I personally feel, almost sometimes a little bit too beautiful, and you question yourself, why does one have to do anything else but why don't we just look at everything, at the lake, at the mountains, and well, it's so fantastic. And of course, the city of Lucerne has wonderful bridges. The most famous one is the Chapel Bridge, which once burned down but was immediately built up again and today stands as strong as ever, visited by millions of Chinese tourists every day throughout the year. And then in the back is Mount Pilatus, the Stanzerhorn, the famous Rigi. And yeah, you have to cry sometimes when you look at the beauty of this nature. And you ask yourself, why do we need to do a music festival there? Why do we have to have a theme of childhood? Why do we have to do contemporary music? Why do we have to challenge people? Why do we have to do all this work? Let's just be here and enjoy things. But I think that's the cornerstone of the whole story, is that it's such a great platform and place for artistic thought, for artistic inspiration. And if we go back a little bit, then we will see, Richard Wagner was one of the first, most important artists who came to Lucerne. He fled, but he basically fled anywhere where he went. He was never really at home. And in 1859, he composed the last act of Tristan and Isolde in the Hotel Schweizerhof, a beautiful five-star hotel today. And he fled from Zurich because he had an affair with one of his sponsors, as he always used to do. And so he went to the Schweizerhof. He had a beautiful room looking out to the lake and to the mountains, and he composed one of the greatest pieces of music. The third act of Tristan couldn't be more dramatic, more tragic. And I sometimes question myself, which mountain was he actually looking at, or which part of the lake? What did inspire him? But he was definitely sitting there and enjoying this nature and being inspired. And we don't have to speak about the importance of Richard Wagner. He was, in composition way, one of the most important ones who developed music greatly for it. And his dimensions are felt today. It's one of the most beautiful operas, in my opinion, most important operas. And Richard Wagner later, between 1867 and for 7 years, lived with his then Cosima Wagner, his new wife, where they had a child in Triebschen near Lucerne, and where he composed Siegfried Idyll, also one of the most important chamber music works in the music history. And I'm telling you this to give you a little bit the case study of the Lucerne Festival, or even Lucerne, because Lucerne Festival plays such an important role. There is a reason to everything, and I think that Richard Wagner actually was one of the main reasons why this festival came into fruition. The first performance was in 1938 in Tribschen. Wagner always loved to be at great homes. He always picked the finest ones, and actually it was interesting that King Ludwig II from Bavaria helped him to get Tribschen. I don't know exactly how, but he did, and that's why Wagner stayed there for 7 years with his wife and then also with his son, and Tribschen was the founding place of the Lucerne Festival. And the first inaugural concert took place right next to the house, Tribschen, and it was a performance comprised of musicians from all over Europe. 1938, you know, was a very difficult time in Europe, 1 year before World War II started. Toscanini was not a great friend of the fascist regimes in Italy, and in Germany. I have read letters and I have seen stories that have become public, also by the secret police from Italy, who were actually following Italians who were going to Toscanini's concert in Lucerne, and they moved themselves into the audience actually, and they filed reports to the Italian government. So it was not a very funny period, and we all know what happened in Germany at the same time. So Lucerne became a little bit of a heaven, a peace heaven, and a place where many people relaxed and came to, but many of them, of course, also knew that it wouldn't be the final place. And Toscanini, 2 years later, he left to the United States, where he pursued his great artistic career. Later, over the decades, Lucerne Festival really, with the energy that Toscanini created in 1938, with an own festival orchestra that he comprised out of friends. With this energy, the festival was developed, and it really became one of the great centers of symphonic music making. And the true core, artistic core, still today is the symphony. Everything we do comes out of a symphony orchestra. And as perhaps some of you know, the symphony orchestra is comprised of different sections: wind section, brass section, string sections, and it comes out of chamber music into bigger forms, and sometimes from the bigger form moves back into the smaller form. But we in Lucerne are very much focused on the symphonic music making, and this is really the center. So over the decades, the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra, the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra, the Philharmonie Orchestra London, the London Symphony Orchestra, the Royal Concertgebouw Orchestra Amsterdam, the Gewandhaus Orchestra Leipzig, the Bavarian Radio Symphony Orchestra, the New York Philharmonic Orchestra, the Chicago Symphony, and many others connected to famous conductors such as Wilhelm Furtwängler, Herbert von Karajan, Raphael Kubelik, Bernhard Haitink, Claudio Abbado, Zubin Mehta, Daniel Barenboim, Maurice Janssens, Laurent Marcel, and many others. They were the centerpiece of the festival for decades. In 1998, a very milestone historic moment took place when the new Cultural and Congress Center, Lucerne, was opened. It was built by the architect Jean Nouvel right at the lakeside. You couldn't really imagine a more beautiful place for a concert hall. And the acoustics of the concert hall were designed by the American acoustician Russell Johnson, who sadly passed away, but he was one of the greatest modern acoustic designers, and he developed a very sophisticated system of also echo chambers, which you can open and close, and by that adding or taking away volume from the hall. The new hall was 1842 for 1842 people. Before, the old one was, I think, 1100, so it also presented a challenge. And I came in 1999, so just 1 year after the new hall had opened, and it was quite a challenge at the time, 20 years ago, to take this over and just think of, what am I going to do with this now? I mean, It was fantastic, but we had to develop something. And one of the basic decisions I made is to grow our own identity, which for a festival which is so much import, with the most famous artists, the most famous orchestras, is not so easy. We don't have opera where you have productions that are something of your own, but we bring in. So we decided to go much more into the focus of creating our own identity. In the beginning, there was the idea of a theme, of a yearly theme. You saw last year we had the theme of childhood that we involve into all parts of the programs. And this year it's the theme of power, a very challenging theme, but I think very suitable and at the right moment and point in our worldwide history where we see dictatorships growing, becoming new again, and where issues and problems are discussed in society which need to be discussed, and where things become transparent that were not transparent before. So we like to, and we see also a certain responsibility in involving ourselves in the issues of our time, of our society, and we like to create themes that have a connection into society. We don't see ourselves only as entertainers doing that what everybody wants, but also being leaders, being thought leaders, and giving something into our programs that creates a link and that has an importance and meaning in our society. So the new KKL, the concert hall, really changed our lives, and it was in 2003 when actually two important things happened in the festival. One, as you see here, Claudio Abbado, the late Claudio Abbado, together with Claudio Abbado, we created the Lucerne Festival Orchestra anew. It was once originally created by Arturo Toscanini in 1938. Abbado came back with the idea, and we together founded this orchestra, which has taken the festival into new dimensions. All of the sudden, television broadcasts were there. We started to do international touring with the orchestra to Japan, to the US, to China, and to Europe, to the Musikverein, and to many other important places. Something we had not done, something we did not have. We did not have a festival orchestra for many years after the founding, but it gave us a new identity. And the other identity we created was with young artists, for young artists, also combined to contemporary music. We created also in 2003, together with the famous and late Pierre Boulez, the Lucerne Festival Academy, an incredible institution where we invite 100 young musicians from all over the world every summer to come to us, and they work together in different forms of programs, chamber music, orchestra, conducting, composer, and we have created a wonderful institution, and these two institutions really contributed to our artistic identity, and of course also to the identity of Lucerne. Today, 15 years, for instance, after the Academy has been founded, we have about 1,200 alumni. Alumni that live all over the world. They live in New York, they live in Hong Kong, they live in Tokyo, and they have become family members, you can say, of the Lucerne Festival. And they're creating art, they're performing, and together with them, we are now developing also a very important alumni network. This summer, we will have for the first time performance of our alumni orchestra. So that is a very important aspect, how we created identity and how we created ambassadors, cultural ambassadors, young, interesting, intellectual, powerful, artistic personalities that are out in the world, that are spreading our name, and that are communicating Lucerne on a very high artistic level. So these two institutions really have become ingrown today, and it's something that was not there before, and we're very happy that we were able to develop it. The Lucerne Festival Orchestra has done extensive international touring, as I said before, and last October we presented our first residency in Shanghai, in the Shanghai Symphony Hall. You can see here a big poster with the current artistic director, Ricardo Chailly, and the orchestra performing in Shanghai in a wonderful artistic space, the Shanghai Symphony Hall. We will be doing our second residency in this October again, and also our Lucerne Festival Academy Orchestra will be going to the Elbphilharmonie in Hamburg and to the Berlin Philharmonic Hall and the Philharmonie in Paris, performing contemporary, advantageous programming. So it was very important for us to build this identity, and before I finish, I want to speak about another project that we did, and it's called Lucerne Festival Arc Nova. It's something that was created after the tremendous earthquake that took place in Japan in 2011, and it's something that came out of nowhere and where we were inspired through our also friends in Japan, of whom we have many, to create a movable concert hall that was taken to the area that was so severely hit by one of the most dramatic human and natural catastrophes. I will show you, a little bit here, and a little movie, and then
listen, it is not a concert hall, it is not a tent, it is Arc Nova.
Well, I think this project is wonderful in many areas. First, it's visually, it's just amazing to see this concert hall, but then also towards the concept, because it's a movable concert hall, and through that we can bring the Lucerne Festival in many different places.
For me, Arc Nova is the best expression of solidarity that Switzerland has shown towards the people in the Tohoku region.
Arc Nova comes out of my long engagement with Inside Out 4.
It has this combination between art, design, architecture, live music, education, social project. Is a real wonderful combination, and this is how I imagine that art should be communicated and projected in the future.
So I hope this will happen again in a different form in many other places.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of Lucerne Festival. I hope I didn't take too much of your time, but I did want to inspire you and show you what can be done with culture in a, quote, mountain resort. We have 105,000 visitors currently coming to the festival with an overall attendance of 90%. We are subsidized only with 5%, probably one of the most self-financed artistic cultural institutions in Europe. And we have our ticket sales with 40%, our sponsors 36%, our friends organization 10%, and others add up to 100%. And we are thriving, and we are full of ideas. And this is, you can see what can happen, what great artistic dreams can be built on outstanding natural dreams. Thank you very much.